Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're digging into a massive question, one that really gets to the heart of how we think about success, about fairness, and about who gets what in our world. So let's start with a scenario. Picture a college admissions office, okay? The pressure is on. There's only one spot left, and you've got two files on the desk. Applicant A, perfect test scores, went to a fancy prep school. Applicant B, really strong scores, but they came from an underfunded public school, and they'd be the first in their entire family to go to college. So, who deserves that seat? To even start to answer a question like that, we first have to unpack the powerful idea that pretty much governs how we all think about this stuff: the promise of merit. The whole idea of a meritocracy is it's so appealing, right? Its main promise feels fundamentally fair. It says success should be something you earn, not something you're given. The jobs, the college spots, they should go to the people who deserve them because of their talent and their hard work. We reward the student who pulls the all-nighter, the athlete who's at every single practice, the candidate who just absolutely nails the interview. And look, this is a foundational story in modern society. It's this system that seems to reward what you do as an individual without trying to force everyone to have the exact same outcome. It feels neutral, it feels objective, and most of all, it feels just. It looks at the successful person and says, you earned this. But what if the starting line isn't the same for everybody? This is where a really big philosophical challenge comes into the picture, and it questions the entire foundation of merit. Okay, so the philosopher John Rawls asks us to try this amazing thought experiment. Imagine you get to design the basic rules for a new society, but here's the catch. You have to do it from behind what he calls a veil of ignorance. You have no idea if you're going to be born rich or poor, what your race or gender will be. You don't even know what natural talents you'll have. From that position, not knowing where you'll end up, what kind of rules would you make? Well, Rawls argues you'd never risk being on the losing end of a system that's based purely on luck. And this is his whole point. Our natural talents, our intelligence, the family we're born into, all of that is just luck. It's morally arbitrary. We didn't do anything to earn it. And this raises a really profound and, frankly, uncomfortable question. If the things that help us succeed, like being born smart or into a stable, wealthy home, are just the result of a lottery at birth, can we honestly say that the winners deserve all the rewards that come with that success? Now, this philosophical tension, it isn't just for a classroom debate. It plays out every single day in the real world, in these really heated arguments over policies like affirmative action. You see, policies like affirmative action come directly from this worry about the lottery of birth. The goal isn't necessarily to make sure everyone finishes in the exact same spot. It's more of an attempt to account for the fact that people are starting the race from wildly different places, often because of historical and systemic disadvantages. And this is where you get a direct clash between two totally different ideas of what justice is. On one side, you have corrective justice, which is influenced by thinkers like Rawls. The focus there is on the fairness of the whole system, taking history and group disadvantages into account. But on the other side, you have a view centered on individual rights, championed by philosophers like Robert Nozick, where the focus is strictly on the individual and making sure no one interferes with them. The corrective justice side argues that society is basically a team sport, and if you're getting benefits from being on the team, you have to play by fair rules. The same fair rules you'd agree to if you didn't know whether you were going to be the star player or warming the bench. But the other side, they push back, and they push back hard. For someone like Nozick, taking from one person to help another through government force, like taxes for social programs, is a massive violation of their rights. He actually says it's basically the same as forced labor. You're just using one person as a tool to help someone else. But just when you think this is a simple argument between fairness for the group and freedom for the individual, a paradox pops up that makes the whole idea of merit way more complicated. Even the most die-hard defenders of pure merit have to wrestle with a pretty tricky reality. A lot of the time, merit is something that's manufactured. Just think about the pattern. Wealth buys preparation. We're talking private tutors, SAT prep courses, the whole shebang. That preparation then produces the high scores and fancy applications. And then those scores are what our system uses to define who has merit. And that reveals the paradox, right? Are we really measuring a person's independent raw talent, or are we just measuring a market-shaped advantage? The very tools we use to find the best people might just be reflecting who had the most resources to begin with. So, as you can probably tell, we're not left with a simple answer here. Instead, what we have is this deep, persistent, and pretty much unresolved tension right at the core of our society. On the one hand, the promise of merit gives us dignity. It tells us our success is earned. But if it all just comes down to luck, does that promise feel kind of empty? On the other hand, if we start to downplay individual merit, do we risk getting rid of personal responsibility? A system of pure merit that ignores inequality could just create a new aristocracy based on the luck of who your parents are. But a system of pure equality that ignores merit, well, that risks dragging everyone down and killing the motivation to achieve anything at all. Ultimately, this whole entire debate boils down to one massive, unavoidable question, a question that has defined political arguments for centuries. Is the main goal of a just society to make sure no one gets left behind, to correct for the bad luck of where they started? Or is the highest goal to make sure that no one is ever used as a tool to help someone else, protecting individual rights above everything? There is no easy answer, and how we decide to handle that tension, well, that defines everything about the kind of society we live in.